Welcome back to Vision Auto Garage, also known as a Vision Auto Driveway. The workshops are now gone, the projects have all gone, and I am well and truly into my new role within a corporate IT environment, corporate IT department. As you can see, I'm now riding a bike, passed my CVT in January, bought myself this lovely Yamaha YBR 125 Custom. Really enjoying it so far, and I've done a fair amount of work on the bike, but I wanted to just make a bit of a Moto-Vlog, give everyone an update on where things are at, what's happening with the YouTube channel, the business and so forth. Things are good, life is good, I am doing alright, and things are going well. That's not the only update. That's not all there is. So I've spent the last few months just clearing out the workshop, selling what needs to be sold, finishing what needs to be finished, whilst working my new job. So I've been in that just over 3 months now. And so I've been spending evenings, some weekends, clearing out the workshop, getting everything sorted to hand keys back. I have sold all the projects. The V6 Midget has been sold, and sadly the Metro project has also been sold. Both have gone to good homes, both have gone to people who are active in the Midget and the Metro communities, and both people have experience building cars and indeed driving modified and performance cars, so they're in good hands. The Metro's yet to be picked up. I think that's probably the saddest one to have sold. I would very much like to have finished that, but my rationale for selling was it's just going to sit on my driveway in a carcoon and decompose until I get the time or the money to work on it. And neither of those are very forthcoming. It's already sat there for 3 months. And it's just that it doesn't do cars any good. It doesn't do project cars any good, and it doesn't do engines any good. The whole thing. It's not a good idea just to abandon projects and leave them until a sunnier day, unless you know for definite that sunnier day will be sooner. For me, I just couldn't commit to that, and I'd much rather see it go to a good home, someone who's going to finish it, or at least take it on to the next stage. I'd love to see it going, I'd love to see it running and driving and finished. I'd love to have a go in it, so hopefully if the new owner's watching this, then I hope we come to keep in contact once you picked it up, and I hope you enjoy it. So the projects are gone, most of the larger tools are gone. I've kept as many as I can of the hand tools and things that I'm going to use again, be it in the near future or the distant future. So I'm adapting to my new role. It's a big change. It's a change from what I used to do in IT, and it's a change from the last 3 years of running the workshop and being my own boss. There's some adjustments needed to be made, but it's going well. So I've just made the change to commuting into Hammersmith on a motorbike. It's a 72 mile round trip a day, and the cost of the train, if you do it daily, it's sort of £43, and if you do it annually, it's about £4,500 a year for a season ticket. That's a lot of money, especially for sitting in a crowded, infected, demoralising, mind-numbing train that is never on time and dictates your day. I have found a much greater sense of freedom from my workplace and from the clock on a motorcycle. So I passed my CVT in January with the intention of testing it giving it a taster. You know, if I enjoyed riding the bike on the CVT, then I'd pursue it a little bit further, and if I enjoyed and was able to do the commute, then I can push it a little bit further and take it a bit further. And we're at the stage now. I did 3 days last week, did about 240 miles on the commute, incident free, I'm pleased to say. There was some rain, there's a lot of wind, a couple of nice sunny mornings, so on the whole it's been very good. It's been testing and challenging as a new rider to commute on dual carriageways, onto the A3, into Putney, across Putney Bridge, up into Hammersmith in the traffic, learning how to filter into lane split and overtake when needed and safely. It's quite a challenge, and as I'm sure any new rider will tell you. So I'm just out this afternoon just for a casual ride because I really enjoy riding. I like the experience, I like the isolation of it, actually, able to clear my mind and, you know, just relax a bit. Well, although it's not really relaxing, I don't feel relaxed when I'm riding yet. I'm much more relaxed physically, but I don't think I'll ever mentally relax, because I think that is when accidents can happen. I don't want to become complacent. But anyway, so I'm out for a nice casual ride. We're riding from Horsham to Devil's Dyke on the South Downs. We'll go up and we'll take a nice view in and come back before the dark, because the headlight on this bike is rubbish. Now I'm using a Senna Prism Tube Wi-Fi camera with the included microphone, so if that is overloaded then I can only apologise, and I'll try and change it in the future, change the position of the mic. So this bike, it's kind of got me into bikes, actually. I'm keeping an eye out for different projects, and I think it might be a direction that I can go in, cheaper than cars and with a smaller space than cars. Ultimately I'm now working from half of a single garage, a residential garage. It's detached, it's not on blocks, so it's a reasonable size for motorbikes. But if I was to do a car in now, it'd be a nightmare. When I did my first midget, constantly tripping over things, and actually freshly painted, there were a few issues with scratches and things like that because I didn't have the space to work in. But motorbikes, I think that can work really well. So about this bike then, this is a 2015 Yamaha YBR 125 Custom. It's done just over 20,000 miles now. I bought it just under 20. Paid £500 for it. It had the original engine, and it had some bottom end noise, or top end and knock, probably bearing related. So I ended up purchasing a £300 replacement engine that had done miles, and as you can hear, runs really nicely. And I put that in the course of an afternoon, and I've also gone ahead and modified the exhaust. Replaced the standard exhaust, which is extremely heavy. But I replaced it for cosmetic reasons. It had originally they have a chrome or a chrome plastic cover plate on the exhaust, and it just gives it a bit more of a classic look, but as you'll see from the footage in a minute, that it had come off and it was looking nasty and rusty and horrible, so I wanted to replace that, and as a side effect, if I could get a louder exhaust note, that would be great. I think it's good to be heard on a bike, especially a small bike in London. I want people to know I'm there. So I bought a universal silencer from, I can't remember the name of the website, but I'll put a link in the description. It was about £45, I believe. A tulip style 1.25 inch diameter universal silencer. I chopped off the old silencer, and discovered that there was a reducer inside, and the mass of the silencer was amazing really for the diameter of the pipe that was inside, which I guess adds, it baffles the exhaust, brings it down to acceptable levels, and keeps the sound down. But the weight was huge. So I chopped off the old exhaust, the stock exhaust, and welded on 2 or 3 inches of a stainless pipe, stainless exhaust tube that I bought off eBay. Came in a metre length, so I chopped that down, weld tacked that on, and basically, extended the header pipe so that the new exhaust was at a suitable position, and welded that on and fitted the exhaust. Now initially this was a baffled exhaust, but it's essentially straight through. There was very little baffling going on, and it was just far too loud. So I purchased a silencer kit that fits inside the tulip exhaust, which includes a baffle and fiberglass wadding and some stainless steel cable ties to hold it all in place. It wasn't the easiest and most comprehensive fitting, being the first silencer, actually, first baffle I've ever fitted to anything, be it car or motorcycle. So I got fiberglass everywhere, and my hands itched for a little bit, and I had to dispose of a set of gloves. But other than that, it went fairly well, and it's made a noticeable difference. Initially, without the baffle, the exhaust was really, really harsh. It was very loud. It was almost the same as having no silencer on at all, which is just not pleasant. I didn't want to be overly loud. It's a 125. You end up looking a bit stupid if you've got an extremely loud exhaust on a 125. They don't sound great at the best of times. So to have put a essentially straight through exhaust on is not going to have improved my street cred, driving around in my luminous green, fluorescent green jacket and trousers and things like that. So reasonable amount of sensibleness was required, and the baffle was added, and as you can hear, it sounds pretty good. I really like it. It's not too loud. I am wearing earplugs. I'm wearing Pinlock earplugs. They take the edge off nicely. You still got quite a lot of wind noise, but it's not. I don't feel like I'm damaging my hearing. So since doing the sort of 240 miles in the last week on the commute, I noticed that the clutch was slipping, and actually after adjusting it, I wasn't able to get a good feel on the clutch, on the lever, and I was finding that when shifting gear at high revs, the clutch was slipping, and I wasn't getting enough go for the relevant revs. So I proceeded to change the clutch cable, new clutch cable. I've replaced the clutch for an EBC heavy duty clutch friction plates, and I have also replaced the clutch springs for, again, EBC heavy duty clutch springs, and actually it's made a huge difference. So much easier to shift gear. There's no clutch slip at all, which is brilliant. I'd imagine that the original, well, it wouldn't have been the 20,000 mile clutch, it would have been the 3,000 mile clutch. So I'd imagine that it's probably reached, I don't know what life of a clutch on a 125 is, but maybe 3,000 miles or so. For the cost of a clutch kit, I'd imagine that's pretty good. It's £24 for friction material that I bought from Moto. So replacing the clutch solved the clutch slip, and the cable gives a nice smooth feel now. Shifting gears is a lot easier. Doesn't look like there's a space there, mate. That's a boy. Well done. The gear changes are nice and smooth. Very positive now. Clutch feels great. And I've also been struggling with, not struggling, the brakes have been somewhat underwhelming since I bought the bike. So I've replaced the rear shoes and I have replaced the front pads. And the bike stops really, really well now. There's a positive rear pedal and a really reassuring front brake feel. It is only a 125. It is only a small single piston front caliper, and it is drums on the rear, so it's not going to stop like a twin disc bike or anything like that. But it's much better than it was. It's as it should be, I believe now. There was nothing I could see that was really wrong with the front pads or the rear shoes. I think they may have been slightly contaminated or just old and just a bit, past their best. So that's made a big difference. All in all, I'm really enjoying the bike. Really enjoying the experience of riding. Enjoying learning how to ride. My confidence is coming up. I'm careful, trying to be careful to make sure I don't become overconfident and push my luck. I'm not a fan of riding in the wet or at night or in high winds, all of which I have experienced in the last week on my commute. The next upgrade for the bike is the headlight. I left work an hour late one evening, and the last sort of 15 miles of my commute were on roads very much like this, in the dark, and it was terrifying. I could not see high beam or dip beam. I could not see. Combined with a bit of road spray and oncoming traffic, it was dangerous. Fortunately for me, there was a car 2 or 3 in front that didn't want to go past 35 miles an hour, and so that created a queue, and I was fortunate enough to have a car with very nice bright headlights behind me and a car in front to follow, and I can start to read the road a little bit from the movements of the car in front. If there's a bump, to prepare yourself or things like that. So that was good, but the headlight needs replacing. I can't rely on other traffic for my light, and as the year goes on, towards the end of the year, we'll be in a position where riding will be in the dark at certain times, so that needs to be sorted. Possibly not for the next few months. We're coming into some lighter weather, the clocks will never change, so yeah, it should be good. I'm looking particularly at LED headlights, probably just a replacement unit itself. I don't really want to mess around with changing bulbs and different things like that. I'd rather know exactly what I'm getting with a replacement unit. LED unit, they do seem quite expensive, so I may be looking for a budget alternative to an expensive model. I'm reluctant to change bulbs. I've read a lot about different bulbs. This is a 35-35 bulb, and it's rubbish. It's not, oh, a lovely Aston there. It's rubbish. It's better than it's a little bit better than a candle. So putting a higher wattage bulb in could maybe get away with a 55, but these aren't halogen units. These are Bosch fitting. There was a car behind me and it just disappeared. It must have taken a turning. These are Bosch fitting bulbs, like a bayonet. I forget the name of the number, but you can't get many options in it. And if I were to put in a higher wattage bowl, I may end up melting the plastic reflector, so it's probably not a good idea. I'd much rather go with a unit I can measure, from the specs what the output is, what the wattage is, what the draw and all that sort of thing, and I can modify the circuits to suit. It's easy enough to add in another relay and a feed from the battery with a fuse for a powerful headlight, so that's the route I'm going to go down. I'll be sure to make a video of that, and I think generally we may end up doing a bit more work on motorcycles, particularly this one, although most of the work I think I'll need to do I should have done by now. There's not a lot else to do at this stage. So I'm approaching the South Downs now. It's beautiful here. I remember as a kid used to fairly regularly come up to Devil's Dyke with my parents and try and fly my kites. I used to really enjoy that. In fact, it's my birthday on Monday. I remember one of my birthdays I came up specifically to fly a kite when I was a kid, and was very upset because it wouldn't fly. I can't recall if there wasn't enough wind or if the kite just wasn't any good, but I couldn't fly it and I was upset. Anyway, it's probably the steepest hill I would have climbed on this bike. Let's just keep it pinned in third, see how we'll get on. 10,000 RPM. I'm planning to do a DAS in the summer and direct access, probably a couple of days intensive, and get the L plates off this bike. I may not necessarily go straight up to a bigger bike. I think a bigger bike would be a good idea in the mid-term. Something maybe a 400 size, 400cc, 350, 400, something like that. Something not too big so that we lose the economy, not too big that I get into trouble, but big enough that I can get out of trouble and just make the commute a little bit more comfortable. I mean, acceleration on this is not fantastic. If you have a driver who is not being compliant with you and not keen on you overtaking them, it won't happen. They will just be a pain in the arse. That was a fun little dip. It's costing me about £4 a day on the commute, so about 72 miles for half a tank. It's about £8 to fill up the tank. That's never from completely empty. It's a 12 litre tank, so I guess I'm probably filling up when there's a few litres left, maybe when it's 4 or so litres maybe. Oh, a nice big puddle. Let's see what we're going to do here. Go with the crest. Yeah. Right, tyres are wet, trousers are wet, but they're waterproof. Oh no, they're not. Let me remind myself. I got completely soaked on these are Oxford Montreal 3.0 textile trousers and jacket, and it rained not massively heavily, but quite heavily on the way home, and at 50 miles an hour it feels like it's torrential, and that was the scariest commute. I had wind and rain. I was cold and wet, neither of which fun on a commute. But the Montreal 3.0 jacket There's a red lining which has bled around onto the hive is yellow. It looks like blood, and it leaked around the front zipper. My Oxford Montreal 3.0 texed up trousers, waterproof trousers I will add, leaked around the crotch. My RST boots, I forget the name, leaked around the top of my foot, not my ankle, but kind of the flat on the top of my foot. That was wet, and my Danny's gloves, waterproof gloves I will add, leaked. So I was wet. And here we are. Beautiful. Well, that was messy. Ended up in neutral. Trying to pull away neutral doesn't work. I'm here. Hello. Thank you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Something a little bit different from me. And I'm not sure what the future holds for the channel. I'd like to do as much as I can. There might be some moto vlogging, there might be some custom work on a bike, there might be some restoration work on bikes, who knows. But I hope you stay subscribed. I'm sorry if you're disappointed that the channel won't be finishing the projects, but it is not the end. It's not the end of me, and it's not the end of the channel or my use of my ability to do custom work. So please stay subscribed. I hope you, if you haven't watched the back catalogue, go for it. Knock yourself out. If you're new to the channel, there's plenty to be watching while you wait for me to put some more content out. So thank you so much for all your support to date. Thank you so much for your support for Vision Automotive when it was a business, and for Vision Auto Garage, the channel. It is really appreciated. I'd still really appreciate all the comments, the nice comments that people leave on the videos, and maybe I could do a bit of a Q&A if people have some questions. Chuck them below, and maybe the next video I'll do a bit of a Q&A session. Maybe you got some questions about what happened with the business, how it started, how it ended, who the troubles and customers were. I won't name names, but there are scenarios. If you have some questions, drop them below. Thanks for watching. If I had a nice Ferrari, I would not be driving so close behind a learner on a 125, because if I came off, he's going to be destroying his car, isn't he? Like, and he can't overtake me here. I mean, he could, but it'd be illegal. But just what's he going to do? And all he's doing is causing a situation where I'm either slowing down or speeding up because he's being a knob. There we go, Mr. Ferrari, 30 miles an hour, the limit.